Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to Ms. Opinionated.
New episodes every Thursday.
And here's your host,
Divine Priestess.
Hello, everyone. So welcome to another episode of Ms. Opinionated. I am your host, Divine Priestess. And today's episode is about when Spirit says no. We need to trust in the divine timing. Sometimes that no is redirection, and it also can be protection. So we've all experienced a door closing, a relationship ending, an opportunity disappearing, or plans just fall apart despite our best efforts. Okay. So in this episode, we are exploring what it means when Spirit says no. Is it rejection? Is it redirection? Is it protection, or is it just preparation? Okay, so let's reflect on the lessons hidden within disappointment, the importance of divine timing, and how trusting Spirit can lead us to paths we never imagined for ourselves. So, because sometimes the answer is not ever, it's not this or not yet. And I hear that a lot of times on TikTok. People like, that no is just a not yet. It's a not yet. No, sometimes it's not this. This is not it. This is not where you are supposed to be. So no. Okay. I had to yell this to someone a couple of days ago of like, this is not it. It was never supposed to be it. You continue to try to force this thing to happen, and it's never going to work. It's just not it. Okay. So let's go over some talking points. Why hearing no is difficult. Our attachment to outcomes, the assumption that everything we want is meant for us, and how disappointments can shake our faith. So let's jump into the assumption that everything we want is meant for us. You have to look at where you are in your life right now. Things that I wanted in my teens, I don't want now. Things that I wanted in my 20s, I do not want that now. Okay? Things that I wanted as a kid. I don't want that. As a kid, I wanted to be a model, an actress, and a singer. I wanted to be a model, actress, and a singer. Do I love singing? Yeah. Do I think about singing and what would have happened if I pursued it? From time to time. You know, I've entertained the thought. You know, I went back into voice lessons and things like that. But I really sit here and just think like that's not for me. That's not for me. Like, yeah, I love singing. Singing could just be a fun thing that I do, right? But is that a career that I'm supposed to be working? I don't think so. Modeling, did I like modeling? Yeah. But also, I don't like people touching my hair. I don't like people touching my hair. So, okay. Acting, I like it. Do I want to do audition? I hate doing the self-tapes. I hate self-tapes. I hate it. So it's like, okay, that's just obviously not for me, right? It's not for me. It was a nice run to do modeling. It was a nice run to do singing. But that's not where I'm at anymore, right? It just wasn't meant for me. And that's fine. It's okay to change your mind because we change, we grow, right? Now, are there things that I wanted years ago, decades ago that I want now? Yeah. Now that I have not lost sight of, okay? So that may be for me, maybe just not at this current moment, but that doesn't say it's not for me, right? So how do we know the difference? I'm always going to say having a good relationship with your spirit, having good relationship with yourself, being honest and true to yourself, and ultimately developing a good relationship with Creator can guide you on those things. And the reason why I'm going to always stress about knowing yourself is because that is going to give you all the answers right there. Be honest and truthful with yourself. of what it is that you want, what it is that you want to do. Toss away what people tell you you should do. Because again, it's just opinions. And it's funny because we're on misopinionated. And I'm telling you that those are just opinions, okay? It's just opinions. You have your own life and you have to think about it. Sometimes people like to live through another person because where they are in their life, they can't have that, right? They can't do that. So people like to live through others' experiences. So you have to sit here and think about what it is that you want to do. Who are you? Know who you are. I tell people all the time, I know exactly what I like. I like nature. I like peace. I like solitude, right? I am okay with laying out on the beach or laying out in the grass under some shade with a book, with an iPad, with some tea, with some fruit, right? With some food. I like that. That's who I am. I love nature. Some people don't. They be like, oh, I see you doing this and I see you doing that. That's great that you see that. But I don't, that's not what I want, you know? I mean, would I enjoy experiencing that? Sure. But nonetheless, to my core, I love nature. Okay. I love nature to an extent. You know, bugs kind of, I'm still working on it. But I do like being outside. You know, I love nature. You know, it's my little sanctuary. Okay. So when you know truly, truly, truly what it is that you want, you also kind of lose the assumptions, okay, of I'm supposed to have this. Are you really? That doesn't seem to align with your core values. That doesn't seem to align with who you are. And you think you're meant to have this thing, right? Why do you feel you're meant to have this thing? So revisiting your childhood, and especially your teenage years, is something that is very big when it comes to your healing, because a lot of things that we do and a lot of things that we want and we go after is because we were taught to do those things, right? For the longest, it was always pushed on me to work in the medical field. You know, it was the whole thing of, oh, if you get a job in the medical field, you'll always have a job. That's true. But I know I don't like certain things. Yeah, I went to school for a little bit to become an EKG technician. But I know working in a medical field is not where my heart is. Okay. I go back and forth about completing and getting, you know, my psychology degree, my degree in psychology. School is just, there are so many things to do in this world, and this is your life. And a lot of people are always going to tell you what you should do. But having a close relationship with God, having a close relationship with your egum, with your ancestors, ancestros, right? Antepasados. I learned some more Spanish, you guys. Antepasados and ancestros. But having a good relationship with your spirit core, right? Whoever it is that you work with, whatever spirit, whatever deity you work with, having a good relationship with them and a good relationship with yourself is going to help you. I tell people this all the time. And it's funny because as much as I'm a psychic and as much as I'm a medium, I don't go to a lot of readers. There's really only one reader that I go and get readings from, and it's not even an all the time thing. It's kind of like to confirm what I've seen, because I've gone to some readers and they be all the way off. They be all the way off. Only you know what is meant for you. And I tell you this because dealing with Orisha, right? Going to Ifa, they don't tell you what to do. Despite what people think, they don't tell you what to do. Like, they don't give you the full blueprint, right? Getting my Mara de Arula, oh, you're destined to do this, right? And it's like, but there's so many things that like to what extent, like how much, and it's kind of like that's up to you. And it's like, you know. But another thing too, I was always told what is meant for you will always be for you, and there's nothing that you can do to kind of there's no way for you to miss it. Okay. So, and it's not always what you want, at least in that moment. So I'm trying to think of a really good example. Okay. So, okay. So I remember years ago, before I came into the Orisha tradition, and even before priesthood, I remember telling someone, because again, my whole thing was like, oh, I want to know what I'm supposed to do, what I'm supposed to do. And I knew I was supposed to be a priestess years ago, damn near 10 years ago, I knew about that. And I remember I asked a mambo about it. I was like, hey, what am I supposed to be doing? And she was like, oh, you're supposed to be a priestess. And I'm like, okay. And yeah, it's meant for me to be that. I'm destined to be that. However, there have been times where that wasn't something that I wanted, right? Because it was where I was at in life at that time. But now I've gone through several lessons, had quite a bit of experiences, and it's like, okay, this is okay. I get it now, right? So I say all that to say that it is okay to change your mind about certain things. It's okay to want something at first and don't want it later. It's okay for you not to want something, and then down the line you're like, you know what? I think I'm gonna tackle that. I think I'm gonna go after that. Right? It's okay to do that. I know a lot of people kind of like tell us that you shouldn't change your mind. Like you need to know right off the bat. You can't change your mind. And it's like, no, you can. At any point in time, you can change your mind. Again, I always stress to people, this is your life. This is your life. Make the decisions. You only get one life in this body. Unless you're like my mother, then you get multiple. But you get one life. I stress to people, you are supposed to be happy in life. You're supposed to have peace. Yes, you can get readings, and readings tell you you're supposed to do this, like you're destined to do this. Okay. But at the end of the day, it is a choice. It's a choice. Now, we have to look at our attachment to outcomes. And that's why the no can be hurtful, because we want things to go a certain way. We get attached to it. And when we get attached to it, we try to force it. The biggest example I can give to that is look at previous relationships, platonic or romantic. Look at it. You can see when a relationship is going downhill. You can see when it's about to get ready to end. But sometimes we continue to force it because of, oh, I put so much time into it. We've done this, we've done that. Maybe money was involved. But it's like, when that well dries out, okay? And again, there is always something coming. There's always something. You have more years in front of you. You have more time ahead of you. So do not get attached or start working on the attachments you have to certain outcomes. Because there's reasons why things happen the way that they happen. It can be divine or it could be us. Okay? Again, a lot of times when it comes to accomplishing certain things, we want them to go a certain way. And even though it doesn't go our way, does not mean it's not going to work out. It's just a redirection, right? Could be a redirection, right? Prime example is with my nonprofit, Casa de Aguas Dulces, right? Yeah. I have certain expectations when it comes to it, right? When I started Casa de Aguas Dulces, I had a plan. Did that plan go as I planned? No. And so I allowed that at times kind of to weigh on me. Am I doing the right thing? Is this even right? Because nothing is going the way that I'm working towards. It's what is it? Like there can't be there's no way that this is for me and this is happening, right? Wrong. It the nonprofit was always supposed to be here. Okay? The nonprofit was always supposed to be here. However, there are certain things that is going to happen and supposed to happen for whatever reason. I'll find that out down the line. Okay? You don't always get the answers right away. But if I allowed myself to be attached to, I don't know, I'm not necessarily going to say failures, but for the sake of this example, let's just say if I allowed myself to be attached to the failures, then Casa de Aguas Dulces would not be here still. 5 years. Casa de Aguas Dulces has been here for 5 years. We are on our second year as a nonprofit. If I allow the failures of when Casa de Aguas Dulces started off as a business and some of the failures of Casa de Aguas Dulces as a nonprofit, the doors will be completely closed. I will not be putting out more events and gatherings and all these things. You cannot attach yourself to the outcomes. Trust the process, because ultimately the attachment we have to the outcomes is simply because we are looking at the end result. So do not confuse the outcome to the ultimate end result, because Casa de Aguas Dulces is continuously going. I could have let certain outcomes of events where people didn't show up, I could have let that be the end. But I didn't let myself get attached to it. It's like, okay, let's revisit what can be done differently. Why did this happen? But again, don't think too hard on that. Keep going. Keep going, right? People have their own lives, and that's something that I remind myself a lot. People have their own lives. I remember I had an event where like 30 people signed up to show up. I think only 5 people came out of the 30, right? Maybe 6 or 7 people, I don't know, but it was way less than goddamn 15. I know that. Way less than 10 out of 30. And I could have let that got me down. And I'm actually quite grateful for a friend consciously when the event was over. I was like, yeah, more people supposed to show up. I don't know what happened. And, he gave me some wisdom with that, which I'm like, okay. But I'm going to keep going because, again, there's people showing up. And, again, when people are ready, they'll be ready. All right? So don't attach yourself to outcomes. What seems to be a loss, it is what it is. That's one day. I don't care if you took a loss 30 days in a row. That 31st or 32nd may be that one, right? So don't get attached to these things. Always reevaluate, right? What can be done differently? Maybe I should have put more into promoting the event. I don't know, right? Maybe I need to make it more visible, right? It's so many things. So try not to attach yourself to those outcomes and let it wear you down, because that disappointment can 100% shake your faith. And that's when you think it's not for you, right? And again, this for you and not for you, it is, I don't want to say situational, I don't want to say circumstantial, but it just is what it is. And that's the best way I can put it, is that is a part of life. Life is a journey, right? And then also you have to see, is your heart really in it? You know how many rappers, people who've been rapping for years and it took forever. Like, I didn't know 2 Chainz didn't get his, he didn't really make it big until his 30s, And way back then, I thought that was old. I was like, well, that's old as hell. I think he was like in his 30s or something when he really made it big, right? So don't let these disappointments shake your faith. If it is something that you truly want, right, you are passionate about it, go after it. disappointments and all. Okay? That is building. Okay? It's building you. It's also building whatever it is you're working on. It's helping you perfect your craft. So on and so, it's so many things. Okay? So do not let those outcomes, those disappointments shake your faith. Because yes, hearing no can be difficult, but a lot of time it's difficult because of our ego, especially because other people are watching, so we don't want to look like a failure. But trust me, you continuously doing it, you're not a failure if you continue going. The fitness journey is one of those things where people can easily get discouraged because you don't see the results right away. But that doesn't mean that there aren't results, right? You may not see those results right away, but that does not mean that something isn't happening. It's happening internally before it's going to be external. Okay? So I want you to think about that. When you think of these disappointments of, oh, it's not working, nothing's happening, it's happening behind the curtain. Okay? Something is happening. You just have to keep going. You have to keep showing up. You got to be consistent. And with that, I need you guys to read The 4 Agreements, but also Atomic Habit. Atomic Habit talks about, they have this little part in the book talking about the 1% rule. So every day, try to do 1% better. And it's like 1%, but it's like, yeah. Because on day 1, if you do 1%, by day 20, 20%. You see what I'm saying? So think of it compounding, right? Just keep showing up, be consistent. Be open to developing your skills, be open to learning, be open to just be open. It is a journey. It is a process. And newsflash, you're going to be on this journey until the end of time. So, and what I'm learning is, have patience. Do not rush. Okay? Trust the process. Everything has its timing. Trust me. If it was up to me, I would have the casita for Casa de los Dulces. It's just not time for it. There was a moment where I did have that for a second. But again, it just wasn't the timing. I was ahead of time with that one, right? It was a lot that I still had to learn. I didn't understand things. I didn't appreciate certain things, But also I had to really think about what I was doing and why. Okay? Hey, so sometimes we're asking Spirit to bless what Spirit is trying to protect us from, right? You may think you are experiencing disappointments now, but you could definitely be experiencing more. But also, again, there's other people, there's other places and things that is involved with this. Okay? So trust in Spirit. So what does a spiritual no look like? Spiritual no's can look like a closed door, delayed opportunities, relationships ending, plans falling apart, feeling resistance despite the effort. Okay? And I want y'all to know, spirits do not always arrive with explanations. Sometimes I don't get the explanations until way down the line. It's like, oh, I get it now. I see why that happened, right? Closed doors, delayed opportunities, relations ending, plans falling, and feelings of resistance. I'm trying to... I will say with those things, again, I know you don't want to hear, oh, just accept it, but I say accept it because I want you to revisit and revise your plan. A lot of us have it in our mind of what we want to do, how we want to do it. I'm going to say write it out. Write it out so the way you can see clearly, because when things are on paper, that changes it. Yeah, when it's in your mind, oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. Got to do this. It don't sound like a lot. But until you write that on paper, it's like, oh, I got to do all this. But then you also need to go into detail of each thing. So when you're rushing for something, you're like, oh, I just have to do this, 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 and this, and this. It's like, oh, really? I say this to people all the time. Having a nonprofit It sounds super easy. Oh, you just need to register as a 501c3. You just have to register with the state. You can apply for grants. That sounds easy. I'm letting you know there is so much more that goes into it. Applying for grants is not just applying for grants. There's that misconception. People's like, oh, just apply for a grant. They want a lot of information and they want a lot of documents that come from the IRS. And you don't get those right away, right? Certain things from the state. You know, all these different things. Okay. I want y'all to know that a lot of things people like to say, oh, it's easier said than done. Yeah, some things is easier said than done. Okay. But not everything. However, it still can be done with proper planning. And a lot of times when spirit is telling you no, it's because the plan is not clear. You also have to have a sense of direction. You also have to know what it is you are wanting to accomplish. Spirit can definitely help you, right? They're gonna for sure redirect you need be, but you have to know what it is you are doing and why. Again, back to the nonprofit. I knew I wanted a nonprofit. I had the why. The how was the thing. You know, I just kind of chunked that. I was like, it's going to get done when it gets done. However, when it comes to it, you can't just say, oh, I want to put out this event. Okay. Time, date, place. Okay. Yeah, we got that. But what else needs to be done to that? It's not just putting together an event. Again, it sounds very simple, sounds easier than done until you get down to the nitty gritty. So, yeah, sometimes our plans fall apart because we are not prepared. That's why we get a no sometimes, because we aren't prepared. Yeah, there's a lot of resistance despite the efforts because also we don't know the how. Do you ever try to put together a shelf without looking at the directions? Especially IKEA. You don't know what you're doing. Yeah, I'm going to do this and oh, we're just going to put this together and do that. You don't know what you're doing. Yeah, that's a great effort. It's nice. But that resistance because you don't know what you're doing. Again, you are not prepared. Again, you do not take the time to evaluate all these different things. Delayed opportunities can be that preparation. There's a few more things you have to work on. So instead of getting upset and bothered and irritated about, oh, I didn't get this, and oh, they told me I got to wait, and be grateful about that. So the way you can sharpen your tool. Okay? Use that as an opportunity to get better. You see what I'm saying? Perspective is everything. Okay? So not every closed door is a rejection. Some are just a redirection. Now, why do we resist the no? And I kind of touched this in the earlier parts of this episode of the attachment to specific outcomes, but that's because we do want to control everything. We are equating rejections with worthiness. We think we're not worthy because we got told no. And it's like, no, that's not the case. It's just not time, right? And we just have a fear of uncertainty, right? But I want to focus on that equating rejection with worthiness. Because think about like when a little kid like, oh, I want to do this, can I do this? And you tell them no. And it's like, why? I can't really do it. And it's like, no, you literally are not ready for this, right? And so that's what a lot of things is. So it's not that you are not worthy of it. You are not ready. Just because a child is destined to be, I don't know, CEO does not mean they are ready as a child. Royalty, right? The princesses. Yeah, one day she'll be queen. But that ain't right now. She's not ready. Right? Just preparation. Okay. So don't think just because you were told no at this moment does not mean it's not something you're not going to have. It doesn't mean that you're not worthy. It doesn't mean that you aren't called to that position. It's just not the time yet. So again, continue to do the work. Okay. When we are rejected, a lot of us want to walk away completely. I don't think you should walk away completely when told no from certain things. I think again, sharpen that axe. Sharpen the axe. Okay? Sharpen the sword. Okay? Train. Okay? Get better with your skills. Okay? Allow that to push you to learn as much as you can and be the best that you can be, right? Gain some experience, gain some wisdom, gain some knowledge. Okay? Trust in divine timing, because a lot of times we're just more attached to the plan than the purpose. The thing sounds easy, but what they say, heavy is a head that wears the crown, right? It's a lot of responsibility. It's a big thing. We get more attached with the hows of like how we're going to get to it, but then we don't think about like what all comes with that. Okay, it's like getting a car. Yeah, we want a car so we can drive. Oh, I'm going to go. There's maintenance, right? There's a whole lot of other things that go into the car than just driving it around, right? Okay. So a no versus a not yet. Okay. This is real quick. The hidden blessings and rejection, relationships that ended, opportunities that didn't work out, unexpected redirections, and lessons learned. I always am grateful. I tell people all the time, I'm very grateful for relationships ended, platonic and romantic. Very grateful. You can't tell me otherwise. I'm grateful. I gotta clean my glasses, y'all. So don't mind me for a second with all this noise. But yeah, relationship in it. It's for the. I'm gonna tell you this. There are certain friendships. There are certain places that I used to hang around, right? And out of nowhere, I was like, all right, I gotta get away. I gotta go focus on myself. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. As much as it kind of hurt me, it was in the best thing, because those places, did they get into some stuff? And it was like, I'm so glad that spirit removed me. I'm so glad I was gone with the wind. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, relationship ending, it is a protection. Again, everyone has their own life. You ever been at the wrong place at the wrong time because of a person? If you ain't never did that, be glad. Cleaning my glasses, y'all. Give me a little second. Oh, thank goodness. Put my glasses on. Yeah, be glad about that. Still dirty. All right, anyways. Opportunities that didn't work out. When it comes to modeling, yeah, I used to get quite a few gigs years ago. But then I sit here and think about how not being in certain rooms was the best thing, because there are some darkness when it comes to the modeling world. Are there some darkness, right? So yeah, it's a good thing that it didn't work out. I always sit here and I say, as a kid, I used to be hurt by a lot of things that didn't happen, right? Especially not growing up with my mother or father, I couldn't understand why. But then I sit here and I'm like, there's a reason why that didn't happen. It's blessings why it didn't happen. And I said that because I also got to experience things that my mother couldn't give to me, right? I met my dad back in, when did I meet my dad? I think I met my dad in like 2019, 2020 maybe? Yeah, I think I met my dad back in like 2019, 2020. But anyways, I sit there and I'm like, if that would have happened in my life, I don't know what would have happened, but I know I wouldn't have experienced things that I experienced in California. I wouldn't have experienced things that I experienced in Houston. There's a lot of things that I want to, there's some experience that I wish I did not have, But there are some that you honestly cannot pay to have, right? So yeah, there's hidden blessings in not getting the things that you want, right? There's hidden it, but it all comes down to perspective. You have to see that. You have to see that. Yeah, were there a lot of traumatic things that I went through in life? Yes. However, I also flipped it. I turned them lemons into lemonade because it's like those experiences, I know how I got through them, and I can be able to help others that go through that or something similar. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, there's blessings. And sometimes those blessings and rejections aren't for you, it's for you to help someone else. Okay? So some of the greatest blessings in my life, came from prayers that weren't answered in the way that I expected. Again, one thing, and I'm gonna be very transparent. Yeah, one thing was having children, and tried the family planning with a few of my exes, and it didn't happen. But then I sit here and I look at where they are in life right now and what they are experiencing. Hell yeah, I'm glad I ain't get no kids from those relations. Because number one, it's not what I wanted. Yeah, I prayed, for things, but it's like also additional things I prayed for, it just wasn't gonna get. So it was like, what do you do? Do you sacrifice, this what like do you like what do you do? Right? So I'm glad certain prayers were not answered. Because it also made me really think about what it is I truly want. What it is that I truly want and how do I want it. Am I going to get exactly how I want it? No, but I tell you one thing about it. My spirit always gives me something better. So, you know. So now this is my opinion to take. We often ask spirit to give us what we want without asking whether it aligns with who we're becoming. And I don't know if I said it in this take, but I know I said it in another take of we change. Things that I wanted as a kid, I don't want now. When I tell you, I remember sitting in my economics class and I said, or is it economics, whatever. You know what I'm saying. I remember sitting in that class and I told people, I said, I wanted to start my family by like 28, 29. I wanted to be married. I wanted to have a house. And I wanted to start my family. And I told them how many kids I wanted to have. That does not align with who I am today. I cannot lie to you. I don't think if I was married in this moment, if I was married back then up until now, I don't think I would be happy because I have changed a lot. And sometimes marrying early without really, really, really like getting to the depths of you. Yeah, that's why certain things end. You guys grow apart. You're different. You're not the same, right? That's why when I look at, some of these marriages that's ending off of TikTok, they got married young. They're not the same. They're not kids anymore, right? Things change. There's things that I wanted again as a kid. I wanted to be a singer. That does not align with where I am today. It does not align with who I am, Is it fun? Do I like it? Yeah. But that's just not who I am. I wanted to be a movie star. It doesn't align with who I am. Now that I understand what all comes with it, I don't want that. I don't want it. Because again, a lot of times we force outcomes. We're chasing things that no longer fit, and we don't trust the guidance, right? We question it. It's like, oh, really? I know a lot of people, and you see this in movies. People get mad at God because something didn't go their way, and it's like it's for a reason. Just be patient. You'll see why. You know. So faith isn't just believing in faith isn't just believing when it's a yes. Faith is also trusting when the answer is no. And I tell this to my spirit all the time. I trust y'all. Whatever does not serve me, remove it. right? Whatever's not aligned, I trust, realign me, you know. And then next thing I know, I see people falling off like flies, and it's like, damn, you know. But then you have to sit here and think about it. And I tell this to people: certain people, relationships that end, you have to be honest with yourself. Were they in the way? Were they sabotaging? Right? Were they that negative energy? Right? Were you becoming distracted and losing focus of what you are supposed to be doing? Because a lot of times when we're doing something, we try to do it with another person. And it's like, that's not that person's job, right? A person in HR and a person in accounting got two different positions, two different tasks. They cannot take each other on their journey, on their path, because they have two completely different things to do. Yeah, they work in the same building. Yeah, they're co-workers. They're in each other's lives. They have two different paths. Okay. So that's why some things don't work out. That's why certain relationships end. Y'all are going on two different paths. If it realigns down the line, then y'all be cool again. Whatever. you know but take the lessons that come with these experiences. Again, too, when you start looking at the lessons that were learned, you also lessen the chance of repeating certain things. Okay. Oh yeah. So we're going to be finishing up pretty soon. Okay, but I want to get to this last topic. So what spirit has been teaching me? Okay. Moving with less urgency, focusing on peace, letting spirit guide the pace, and releasing control. That is definitely what I've been working on these past couple weeks, of moving with less urgency. Because I always sit and be like, I'm always good, I'm always taken care of, and I'm rushing to get something. And I feel like a lot of times when I rush to get to something, that's when things fall aside. Fall aside, because then I'm also sacrificing my peace, which is sacrificing my, I'm about to say health, essentially, but it's also sacrificing my happiness, right? Moving with urgency, a lot of times I do lose the plot, because I'm trying to control, and it's like, and while I'm trying to control this, life has passed me by, right? I'm moving with urgency. I'm missing out on certain things, right, that can only be experienced in that moment, right? So releasing control. I've been told for years and years and years, you gotta find your balance, find your balance, find your balance, find your harmony, you know? Slowing down, because again, y'all know how I feel about rest. But slowing down is the best thing. Pace yourself. It is not a race. And a lot of times we are in competition with other people, and that's ego. We see someone did something at this particular age, this particular time in their life. They did this and they did this before. I got to do this. And slow down. Your life is your life. Your path is your path. Your journey is your journey. And that's special because we all have a different path, right? Even if we're going for the same thing, our experiences are going to be different, and that makes it unique, right? So there is no rush, right? That deadline, that timeline you have in your head, toss it out. Continue to stay consistent. And I promise you, you're going to accomplish these things. You don't think I wish I had 1 million listeners on Misopinionated? Hell yeah. But if I allowed myself to be disappointed by not having 1 million, I wouldn't be doing it, right? I wouldn't be doing it. Again, remove the, what's it called? I guess remove the expectation. Just focus on doing the thing and learning as much as you can learn, being the best that you can be, evolving, right? Just flow. right? It sounds very like surfer guy. Just go with the flow. Just ride the wave. But no, seriously, ride the wave. Ride the wave. Who knows what could happen by the day of tomorrow? You know what I'm saying? So release the control, trust in spirit, allow them to redirect you. Again, when you stop trying to force things, that is when it falls into. You ever try to force a puzzle piece into this place, and then the moment you breathe and just like, and it just goes in perfectly? Release the control, right? Because the more that I've been slowing down, especially this past month, the easier it's become to recognize what's aligned and ultimately what's not. Again, clarity. When you are constantly kicking your feet in that water, all that dirt is up and you can't see the bottom of the floor anymore, right? So when you slow down, everything settles, the dust settles. Now you see what can be done. Okay? So, quick questions before we end. What are you trying to force? What doors are you struggling to let close? What if the rejection is protection? And what if spirit sees something you can't? Ask yourself that. What if spirit sees something that you can't? Okay? So if you're facing disappointment right now, remember this. A closed door does not mean you're forgotten. A delay does not mean you're failing. And sometimes spirits know is an act of love. Trust that what is meant for you will arrive in alignment, not force. And trust that every ending creates space for a new beginning. So I thank you all for listening to Miss Opinionated. And maybe the thing that you're grieving today is the very thing you'll be grateful didn't happen tomorrow. Keep trusting, keep listening, and keep moving with faith. This is Miss Opinionated. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you next Thursday. So have a great day.